What's happening, guys? It's Boxing Lowdown here, and I'm back with another video. Now, as always, don't forget to hit that like button, share the video, subscribe to the channel, man. We're back here with another Mythical Monday video. Now, thank you to everybody for commenting on the previous Mythical Monday videos. If you guys are new to the channel, this is something that we do every Monday, and it's basically just a fantasy matchup where we pick a guy from the previous era or an era before that, and we match them up with fighters from today's era, and we just, you know, it's just a bit of fun, really, as it is with all fantasy fights. I mean, you know, there's no right or wrong answer, but it's always fun to talk about. And for this week's Mythical Monday matchup, I challenge anyone to find you know, this matchup being discussed anywhere else, because I couldn't find it. I actually thought about it a couple of weeks ago. I was going to do it, but then I thought, nah, I'll save it for another day, and today's going to be that day. So I'm talking about the cruiserweight era. I'm talking about Lawrence Okolie, who is the newly formed WBO cruiserweight champion. How would he have got on against one of our old WBO cruiserweight champions, and that's Johnny Nelson? Now, the first thing I'm expecting some of you guys' reactions to be like is, oh, why would he make that fight? I mean, that's not a great fight. That would be a very awkward one, not a very good one to watch. But listen, it's not always about having a barn burner as your fantasy fights, man. I mean, we can make fights, you know, that would be amazing to watch, like Arturo Gatti and Diego Corrales, for example. I mean, you just know that would be an absolute tear up. It'd be a war. But you know, sometimes it's always good to look at other styles as well, and this one would be a very awkward one, because both of them are very awkward, actually. Let's start with Johnny Nelson. Johnny Nelson, first of all, what he's achieved in his career is outstanding when you consider that he lost his first 3 professional fights. He lost his first 3 professional fights, and he went on to achieve the success he did. An outstanding turnaround and an outstanding career, an inspiration, really. I mean, I know a lot of people speak about Lawrence Okolie with the fact that he worked in McDonald's and, you know, was inspired by watching the Olympics and then went out to achieve his dream. That's amazing in itself. But Johnny Nelson lost his first 3 professional fights, didn't have that sort of, you know, background in boxing. He really was a product of the Ingle gym, which he likes to say. And he went on to achieve his goals despite, you know, losing his first 3 fights. And his style, I mean, he was pretty languid, he was tall, he was awkward, and he had pop as well. Johnny Nelson, he had pop as well. So he was a horrible guy to fight, pretty much like Lawrence Okolie. I mean, Lawrence Okolie is very tall, you know, he masters the use of his range and distance, and he's become an even more effective fighter under Shane McGuigan. Before, Lawrence Okolie used to, you know, he was involved in some fights where they were pretty awful to watch, a lot of holding, and it just wasn't good to view. But now he's starting to really turn into a power puncher who's mastered the use of his range. And how would these two fight? How would this fight go between these two? Who would you think would win it? Do you think that Okolie would be able to catch Nelson coming in? Because listen, Nelson is a counter puncher too. Do you know what I mean? He used his range and distance, and he could pop. So this would be, I think, it could be one of those fights where it goes to the cards. Or would Lawrence Okolie have to be more assertive to try and get the knockout win? By doing that, it puts you in a vulnerable position where you could get caught. But I just think that Lawrence Okolie's self-belief, I think, would see him through. Some people I've spoken to today have picked Johnny Nelson, but Lawrence Okolie's self-belief, the fact that he really does have, you know, an unwavering belief in himself, which is good to see. I think that he'd catch Nelson. I think he'd catch him at some point before Johnny Nelson catches him. That's what I reckon. I think with the way how Lawrence Okolie is improving with Shane McGuigan under every fight, he's becoming almost very difficult to beat already. Do you know what I mean? He's only had 16 pro fights, and he's had 13 knockouts. But you look at some of the competition that he's been in with already, and the fact that he's pretty much cleaned out the domestic scene, the European scene, and, you know, he's got a world title after only 16 pro fights. I think that he'd be able to use, you know, that experience that he's got from there and the Olympics, and you know, I think that would see him through. I think that with him fighting at this level of competition already, I slightly favour Lawrence Okolie. But again, if you guys were to pick Johnny Nelson, I mean, I totally get that. You look at some of his wins over his career against the likes of Carl Thompson. Johnny Nelson, he's a very difficult fighter to get in there with, and maybe he might present he'd definitely present, not maybe, he would definitely present Lawrence Okolie with some looks that he hasn't seen. But overall, yeah, I'd say I'd have to favour Okolie in general. But again, it's one of those fights where there's no right or wrong answer. I mean, if you were to pick Johnny Nelson, totally understandable. But I'm going to go with Lawrence Okolie in this one. Anyway, guys, let me know what you think. Who have you got for this week's Mythical Monday matchup? And as always, if you guys have any recommendations, or if you want me to do any matchups for next week or the week after, just let me know and I'll happily do them in a video for you. It doesn't always have to be my choice. So let me know your thoughts about this fight anyway in the comment section below. And I'll catch you guys on the next Mythical Monday video next week.